Hello and welcome to the second game of the NexGen 2012 Tour, NexGen All-Stars versus Sub-Zero. We are in Hopkins Stadium, home of high school powerhouse Hopkins Hurt. Looking at NexGen's second game after a 15-9 loss to Bravo last Friday. They're out here for the second game, looking to get their first win on the tour. NexGen will be starting the game on offense and Sub-Zero on defense. Our all-star O-line down there right now, going from left to right, Philipp Haas, the international player from Germany, Colin Camp, back on his home turf here at Hopkins High School. Tommy Lee, Tyler DiGirolamo, Camden Allison Hall, Dylan Freechild, and Alex Thorne. That is looking like a fast O-line for the NexGen All-Stars. On the Sub-Zero D-line, we have a big D-line for them down there.
Sub-Zero.
Holding the disc is Mike Peterson. Next on the line in the hat is James Kennedy, Dan McAdams, Pat Jensen, Charlie Resnikoff, and Sub-Zero with the pull. Tommy Lee Fields moves up to Haas. Haas around to Thorne. Thorne goes deep to Allison Hall. He's able to run it down. He's right outside the end zone. And Allison Hall to Tyler DiGirolamo for the first NexGen goal. A bit of physical defense down there on Allison Hall from Mike Peterson. Allison Hall was still able to get away, and once he had those steps, Alex Thorne had no hesitation in throwing the long ball. And outside that end zone, Allison Hall is able to flip a nice, easy pass. NexGen now on defense, Jimmy Mickle to pull the disc. Eric Johnson, Will Driscoll, Chris Kocher, Nick Lance, we're happy to have him back. This is his first game back with the tour, missing the last game due to a wedding. Jacob Janin, and rounding out is Tommy Lamar. Sub-Zero offense is led by ex-Sockeye player Sam O'Brien, Josh Klein, Tom Murray, Grant Lindsley, Drew Mawald, Gill with the disc, upfield to Mawald. Over to Klein, a nice bid by Nick Lance, but Josh Klein keeps possession. Neeson pushes upfield. Mawald. O'Brien. O'Brien with the hammer across the field.
Sam O'Brien with a hammer.
He hits Kyle Gill for the first goal from Sub-Zero. A smooth offensive point by Sub-Zero. They're able to move it across up the line pretty well until Captain Sam O'Brien opens up the field with a big crossfield hammer. Not a very windy day today, so those hammer throws aren't going to have any trouble flying across the field. Peterson holding the disc. It's his first year on Sub-Zero. First time playing open play. NexGen O-line, Matt Rader playing back from injury. Tyler DiGirolamo, Tommy Lee, Colin Camp, Dylan Freechild, Philip Haas, and Alex Thorne. Haas receives the pull to Lee outside the end zone. NexGen in a vertical stack. Haas. Haas to Camp. Around to Raider. DiGirolamo. And a call down the field on Matt Raider. Matt Raider plays for Seattle Sockeye. He had an ankle injury at the first practice, so you'll see him behind the disc, probably handling more. Freechild to Lee. Freechild. Pick called in the stack. Disc is going to stay. Freechild being marked by Jamison Beek. Lee, Freechild. Camp. Looks off Haas streaking downfield. Around to DiGirolamo. Haas. Freechild. Freechild to Camp, has yards. And Drew Maywald with the D, able to get the inside track on Camp and knocks the disc into the back of the end zone. First turnover of the game and first chance for a break. Freechild sees Camp with yards, but not enough space in the back of the end zone for Camp to run onto it. Beek to tap the disc in. Reznikov. Foul called on the mark.
Does that mean brighter or darker?
Disc floating for Shane Hohenstein, and Matt Raider goes up big over Shane Hohenstein. A foul called as Raider tries to push the disc upfield. Now NexGen gets the disc back. Chance for their offense to score. Thorne on the sideline. All the way across the field to Freechild. He's able to toe the line. Tries to put a backhand hug, but it's blocked by Jamison Beek. Just doesn't get far enough over the defender. Moscow with an upfield pass to Peterson, but it's going to go back. A pick called by Thorne on the receiving end. Moscow to Beek. Beek dumped to Reznikov. Moscow. Hohenstein on the sideline, 10 yards out. Across the field, has a miscommunication with the receiver, goes straight to DiGirolamo. Lee to Camp. Camp opens up. DiGirolamo just went downfield. No one ever caught up, and he scores easily. NexGen up 2-1.
NexGen up 2-1.
DiGirolamo out of Pittsburgh gets the bookends on that point. Earns a D on a miscommunication, and then just continues running down the field, unguarded until Colin Camp finally finds him for the 60-yard huck. No one with DiGirolamo as he easily walks that one in. Sub-Zero now to go on offense. O'Brien, Murray, it's Josh Klain, Danny Meeson, Grant Lindsley, Evangelez and Kyle Gill rounding out the Sub-Zero offensive line. Sub-Zero on a vertical stack, taking the disc at the brick mark. Sam O'Brien with the disc. Gill in the middle of the field. Back to O'Brien. And leads his receiver a little too much. Tom Murray can't make the play. NexGen defense has a chance to score. Nick Lance to pick up. Down the line to Mickle. A nice bid by Captain Kyle Gill, but can't make a play. Driscoll in the middle of the field to Lamar. Pick called downfield. A physical bid by Sub-Zero, but can't get it. Janin on the sideline. A nice poach by Gill, but the disc gets swung to Jimmy Mickle. Pick called on the field, goes back to Mickle. O'Brien catches up his position to EJ. Lance. A lot of crowding in this vertical stack. NexGen struggling to find the rhythm. Lance in the middle of the field. Around to Kocher. Kocher has Janin with steps. Puts out a flick. Janin's going to toe that line. And an impressive play by Janin, but the observer is going to call him out. Just not enough space in the back of the end zone. Sub-Zero now has a chance for the offense to score again. One turnover per each side on this point. Sam O'Brien walking the disc up. Evan Klein, Josh Klein and Danny Meeson as his dumps. Up to Evangelez. Evangelez to Lindsley. Gill. And Murray has yards. His defender falls over. No trouble clap catching that one for the goal. Ties it up 2-2. Unfortunate for defender Will Driscoll as he just gets caught up in the feet.
I'm just following defense.
Jacob Janin full extension on that, but just not able to keep his feet in. Sub-Zero on defense. Down there we have McDonald, Captain Dan McAdam, Evangelez, Shane Hohenstein, Kennedy to pull the disc. NexGen to start offense. Lee fields the disc, pushes up to Haas. NexGen in that vertical stack. A scuba to Matt Rader. DiGirolamo around to Thorne. Nice bid by Matt Young. Not able to get it. Thorne with the disc on the sideline, pick in the middle of the field. Disc gets tapped in. Not able to get out of that cluster. Pick stands. Going to replay on this bid. Alex Thorne slows up a bit. Young with a nice bid, but not able to get it. Lee breaks inside the Thorn, 10 yards out the end zone. Around to Allison Hall. Goal for NexGen. NexGen up, 3-2.
Hamden Allison Hall with the score, 3-2.
Stay his reverse, Dash. Stay his reverse.
Thorn going all the way around. Allison Hall on the live side, gets in front of his defender. Has no problem running that disc down. NexGen D-line. Mickle looking to pull. Philip Haas is out there, Eric Johnson, Will Driscoll, Nick Lance, Dylan Freechild, and Tommy Lamar. On the Sub-Zero offense, we have Sam O'Brien out there talking to his team. Mawald, Murray, Josh Klain, Grant Lindsley, Danny Meeson, and Kyle Gill to round that out. Klain knocks the disc down. O'Brien to pick up. Upfield to Gill. A few switches by NexGen after Lamar makes a fall. Big up line by Klain to Murray. Back to Klain. Goal for Sub-Zero. NexGen struggling a little bit on that offense, loses their footing and has to do a couple switches, just unable to recover. Sub-Zero taking advantage of the confusion on the field, gains yards very quickly until they're just able to dink a pass in to tie it up 3-3. No breaks yet in this game. Sub-Zero defense certainly wanting to change that. NexGen offense, Camden Allison Hall, Lee, Lance, Janin, Kocher, Camp, and DiGirolamo. Bladed pull rolls to the sideline. Lance in the middle. Breaks to DiGirolamo. High release to Camp. Lance resets. Kocher. And a D by Jamison Beek. Coming through Colin Camp. Beek with the disc on the sideline. To Garvey. Hohenstein. Moscow. And Moscow goes deep. Disc is floating. Jimmy McDonald unable to get his hand on it. But a heads-up play comes up. Down the sideline, Huck. It's floating, gets a full hand on it, not able to come down. DiGirolamo doesn't see the player behind him and he's able to make the play. That is the first break of the game. Sub-Zero up 4-3. Evangelez, Jensen, McAdams. Moskal, Mawald. Kennedy with the pull. Haas in the middle of the field. Haas deep immediately to Mickle. That disc is floating down the sideline. and doesn't come back in the field. Nickel unable to make a play on it. Sub-Zero with a chance for their second break of the game. Kennedy picking up the disc on the sideline. Kennedy playing on Sub-Zero, came from Mental Toss Fly Coons on the mixed division, won a championship with them in 2008. McAdams floats the disc in the middle. Lamar cleans it up. And Thorne with the outside and backhand, wide open free child, but the disc is going to go back on an injury call by Mawald in the middle of the field. Unfortunate stoppage of momentum for NexGen. So they would have already been moving down the field. Mawald just comes into Lamar as he clears up that D. Mike Peterson comes in on the injury sub. Thorne with the disc. Round to Lamar. Back to Thorne. All the way around to Haas. Nickel. Thorne. Side to Freechild. 15 yards outside the end zone. Raider. Pick in the field, disc stops. Raider with the disc 15 yards outside his own end zone. Thorne back even with him. Uncontested foul by McAdam. Getting all over the mark as he tried to reach around. Thorne. Lamar. Haas. Travel called on Philip Haas. Disc is going to go back. Haas goes all the way around to Thorne, but it looks like play wasn't resumed yet. Haas inside break to Freechild, who one-hands it right in front of James Kennedy. NexGen offense scores, ties it up 4-4. A nice inside out break by Philip Haas. That backhand is hard to get across the defender and onto the inside to Dylan Freechild, but a very experienced thrower down there. NexGen D-line now need to get the break back. Camp, DiGirolamo, Kocher, Lee, Allison Hall, Johnson, and Nick Lance to pull the disc. Sub-Zero offense, Sam O'Brien, Kyle Gill, Danny Meeson, Tom Murray, Josh Klain, Grant Lindsley, and Alex Evangelos. Nick Lance to pull. To O'Brien. NexGen into the junk, over the top. Hits Lindsley in the hands, but he's not able to keep control of it. Lance all the way around. Lee with the hammer. Colin Camp, two hands on it, can't go down. Evangela is picking up the disc quickly, goes up to O'Brien. Sub-Zero is off and running on offense. Gill on the sideline. And the disc just slips out of his fingers on that sideline. Unfortunate play, trying to hold back a throw. And NexGen is going to get that right back. Lance to Lee. Upfield to Johnson. Around to Kocher, he's wide open. And that is a goal and a break for NexGen. Now we are back on serve. NexGen 5, Sub-Zero 4.
NexGen back on serve, 5-4.
NexGen zone there, did a good job forcing the disc over the top. Grant Lindsley had to make a play on it, just unable to come up with it. Now NexGen comes out on defense, hoping to get a second break. Mickle, Driscoll, Lance, DiGirolamo, Thorne, Haas, and Janin. Sub-Zero offense. Klein, Murray, O'Brien, Lindsley, Gill, Meeson, and Evangelos. Floaty pull, Klein to receive it, 5 yards in his end zone. Centers to O'Brien. Sub in a vertical stack, but falls out when they recognize the junk. Lindsley over the top. DiGirolamo with a nice run through D. Mickle has a disc around to Thorne. Thorne to Driscoll. 10 yards out his end zone. To Lance. Haas. Foul call on a push on the dump. O'Brien said that Phillip pushed his arms out. Disc is going to go back. Looks like it's uncontested by Haas. Lance with the disc. Inside out break to Thorne. He's not in. Wants to go around. Looking blade. Goes through the middle of the crowd to Mickle. The second break in a row for NexGen. They're up 6-5. That junk set for NexGen doing a great job against stopping the first play for Sub-Zero. 6-4.
NexGen with another break, up 6-4.
A high count for Alex Thorne. He's putting the disc in. It looks like Sub-Zero is going to take a timeout after 2 breaks and regroup themselves. We are going to take a quick timeout too, and we'll see you in a second. Back to Hopkins High School for the NexGen 2000 Tour game. We have NexGen taking on Sub-Zero. NexGen currently up 6-4 after getting 2 breaks. Sub-Zero taking a timeout, regrouping themselves for another offensive point. NexGen defense has been running a very nice junky set to force a couple of turns out of Sub-Zero. I'm sure they took a second to talk about that and will come out prepared. NexGen D-line, Mickle, Camp, Lee, Kocher, Freechild, Lamar, and Johnson. Sub-Zero on the offensive side. Gill, Jensen, McAdam, O'Brien, Murray, Evangelos, and James Kennedy in there. Bringing in a couple of the D-line guys, give the offensive players a rest. O'Brien to Kennedy. Kennedy back to O'Brien on the sideline. Up to Gill. McAdam toes the line. All the way around, a bid by Kennedy. It's going to go back on a foul. Kocher marked up against captain Dan McAdam. Just gets tapped in on the sideline. High release inside out break. Gets a dump off to Kennedy. Kennedy to O'Brien. Murray. A pick called on the dump. Johnson gets stuck behind the disc, and marker Tommy Lee. It's going to go back, coming in at 6. High stall count for Murray. A 10 stall throw. Jimmy Mickle able to clean up. It looks like it's an uncontested stall, so the disc is going to stay. Take that back. It's a contested stall. The turnover is going to stay down at Mickle. Next in defense. Now to work 70 yards for the score. Mickle tapping it in. Kocher. Mickle. Camp. Freechild streaking upfield, but he isn't hit down the sideline. Round to Kocher. Freechild calling for the disc. He's on the sideline. Johnson. Kocher. Lamar. And Lamar goes for the huck, but Pat Jensen gets a foot on it, earning the disc back for the Sub-Zero offense. They're going to set back up in that vertical stack. O'Brien is going to pick up the disc. Pat Jensen, a big, long player, getting his whole foot out there to stop the huck, probably saving a point for Sub-Zero. An impressive play from the first-year player to Sub-Zero. Murray in the middle of the field. Upfield to O'Brien. Johnson with the bid, but unable to get a hand on it. Gill. Marked by Freechild. Around to O'Brien. Pick called downfield. O'Brien with the disc. Marked by Johnson. Disc is tapped in. Kennedy. Evangelist. Evangelist inside out break to Jensen. Up to Murray. 5 yards outside the end zone. But there's going to be a call in the field. It's going to come back to Evangelist. A travel on the inside out throw. Travels are being actively called by the observers out here. Player set up on the field. Mickle to tap the disc in. Jensen, McAdam. McAdam at a high count, throws a hammer. A pack of players, and Lamar gets in there. His second D of the game. A high stall count hammer, great dump defense, and a pack of big NexGen players is able to get under it. NexGen is now Johnson coming up to the goal line to go a full 70 yards. Foul called on the pivot. Mickle picking the disc up right off the ground, and he releases it to Lamar. Lamar and Jensen both under the disc, and Lamar makes the play over the top for the NexGen goal and break. They go up 7-4.
2 huge grabs put NexGen up 7-4.
Jimmy Mickle picking that disc up inches off the ground. So casual. And he sees Lamar deep, doesn't hesitate. The disc is going to float a bit, but Big old Tommy Lamar gets a good read over Pat Jensen. Big player out of Ring of Fire. We're expecting to see him do a lot of things on our tour this year. NexGen defense with their third break in a row. Looking for 4 to take the half. Thorn, Lance, Allison Hall, DiGirolamo, Haas, Driscoll, and Janin out there. Sub-Zero O-line. Reznikov, Mawald, Lindsley, Gill, Peterson. Neeson pushes it up to Klain. Klain in the center of the field. NexGen in the junk. Reznikov gets the disc. Finds a space, and Gill to a wide open Mike Peterson. He's gonna run that down, no problem. Sub-Zero making a quick offensive point. All started by a big hammer throw by Reznikov. Reznikov, a veteran player for Sub-Zero, also played for Surly. He just got back from Japan, playing in the Masters division, and comes back and just continues to dominate in the open scene. Sub-Zero stops the bleeding, puts their D-line in. NexGen 1 point to go into halftime. Sub-Zero D-line, Lindsley, Beak, Bergen, Hohenstein, Herring, McDonald, and Mawald. NexGen O-line, Janin, Driscoll, Lance, Haas, Allison Hall, DiGirolamo, and Thorn. NexGen up 7-5, looking to get going to halftime with a nice comfortable lead. Haas field the pull, up to Lance, gets big yards on the first pass. Foul called on the mark. John Bergen out of Wisconsin, marking Nick Lance. Lance to Driscoll. DiGirolamo having to go up. Jumps a little early, can't make the play on the disc. Sub-Zero with a chance to break. Jamison Beek walking the disc up to the line. Jamison Beek out of Luther College. Mainstay on this Sub-Zero defense. Beek goes inside to Hohenstein, all the way around to Lindsley. Lindsley unleashes a backhand. Jimmy McDonald unable to read, and Will Driscoll makes a great play to earn the disc back for NexGen. Around to Thorn. Thorn with a big backhand to Janin. He's got steps, but that disc is gonna float. Tom Herring comes in and is able to get in front, and the D on NexGen. Tom Herring, a defensive cutter, also out of Luther. Reads that well, breaks in front just in time. Beak to Lindsley. Hohenstein. Pick call downfield. Hohenstein on the sideline. Hohenstein, a big defender out of Wisconsin. He was playing with him during their championship run through 06 to 08. Making finals 3 years, winning twice. Former teammate Mawald, Allison Hall on it, and Allison Hall gets in front, a nice D. Knocks that one into the goal. Allison Hall getting up big on Drew Mawald. Mahold also on that Wisconsin team. 3 college championship 3 years in a row, 06, 07, 08. Winning it in 07 and 08. And Nick Lance is going to call the timeout. NexGen with 2 turns this point. They really want to put in this break, taking a half. And as NexGen takes a break, we're going to take a break as well, and we will see you for the next point. Welcome back to Hopkins Stadium. It is a hot, muggy day here in Minnesota. NexGen taking on Sub-Zero, calling a timeout. NexGen on offense after 2 turns. They're looking to put this one in to take half, 8-5. Lance taps it in, big fake, back to Haas. Haas Thorn, Janin, Thorn, DiGirolamo. Lance has yards, DiGirolamo puts up a flick huck. It stays in bounds, that's gonna be good. And a nice flick huck throw from DiGirolamo. You usually see him on the cutting end, but when Nick Lance has that many yards, he unleashes it for an easy goal. NexGen takes half, 8-5. Things are looking up for NexGen Bus after a tough start on their last game. Now they're cruising 8-5. An impressive first half from this NexGen team. We're going to take a halftime while both teams rethink their strategies. And we'll be back with you in a minute. And welcome back to Hopkins Stadium. NexGen taking on Sub-Zero. NexGen up 8-5. Here at NexGen, we would like to thank our sponsors, Patagonia and Discraft, for making the NexGen Tour happen. They're doing great works for us and for the rest of the Ultimate community. NexGen starting out the game with 4 breaks, a much better start than in Colorado. Down here closer to sea level, they're feeling a lot better. Starting this half on defense, Mickle, Lamar, Johnson, Driscoll, Lance, Kocher, and Rader. Sub-Zero offense, Klein, Kennedy, O'Brien, Meeson, Lindsley, and Murray, and Gill. Sub-Zero and a vertical stack. They're running a lot with their handlers. Johnson to Gill. Meeson putting it up the line to Lindsley. He's got speed, and he scores. Lindsley out of Carleton College, had a brief stint at Chain Lightning. He is now back in Minneapolis to play for Sub-Zero. It's actually nice to see him out there running. There was talk of him having a bit of a knee issue, but with the speed on that kid, it clearly doesn't look like he's bothering him. Lindsley going up the line and scoring out of another Paideia alum, Chris Kocher. You can see that band on his right knee. He's been having problems, but we're glad to see him out there today. Sub-Zero set to pull. Thorne receives the disc, pushes up to Lee. NexGen in a vertical stack, horizontal stack. Janin. Lee. Lee being marked by high schooler Harper Garvey. Recently graduated Harper Garvey. He's going to be playing on the Junior Worlds team in Ireland this summer. Playing with Sub-Zero to get prepared for that. Around to Freechild. DiGirolamo. Janin, Lee, Janin, around a free child. Haas. Haas with an inside-out backhand. DiGirolamo wide open on that live side. The sticky hands can't release that disc. Nice goal for the NexGen offense.
Philip Haas with an inside-out backhand. NexGen up 9-6.
Philip Haas on his second assist on that inside-out break. Dylan opening that up to the break side with a nice high release. Haas breaks that, no problem. And Tyler sure is happy. NexGen defense for the first time this half. Mickle, Rader, Driscoll, Johnson, Allison Hall, Kocher, and Lamar. Sub-Zero offense, Klein, Murray, O'Brien, Lindsley, Gill, Evangelez, and Meeson. O'Brien to field it, up to Klein. Back to O'Brien, kind of shocked. Scoopers over to Meeson, and it is knocked out by Eric Johnson, a short field turnover. Jimmy Mickle to pick the disc up, 15 yards outside the goal line. Will Driscoll burns by his man. A one pass point to get the break for NexGen. They go up 10-6.
NexGen with the break up 10-6.
A scooper that floats. Meeson can't get his hand on it. NexGen converts it easily. Sub-Zero trying to play some small ball. Three handlers back in the vertical stack, but they're unable to eat up yards. Their offense resets. Tom Murray, Grant Lindsley. Kyle Gill, Danny Meeson, Josh Klein, Sam O'Brien, and Alex Evangelez. Same line. They still feel confident in themselves. NexGen D-line, Mickle, Lance, Lamar, Lee, Kocher, Haas, and Matt Rader. Matt Rader set to pull. And an offsides call. The first offsides that we've had at this tournament on this tour. Observer has to fish the disc out of the net. Matt Rader picking up the disc. First became a big name on the scene of Ultimate when he made Sockeye in 2008. He tried out for the Junior Worlds team in 2008 in Vancouver. Had a bad tryout, did not make the team. Tried out for Sockeye a couple weeks later, made Sockeye. So instead of playing on the Junior Worlds side in Vancouver, he was playing with the Open team. I'm sure the Junior Worlds coach was shaking his head on that decision. The disc pops up on the first pass. Meeson is able to bring it down. Sub-Zero's back running on offense. Klein on the sideline. O'Brien. Klein. O'Brien. Klein breaks it through to Murray. Meeson. O'Brien. Klein. Moving up the line. O'Brien 10 yards out the end zone. Gill. Gill going up the line. O'Brien floats, but no one's on him. And Lindsley gets ahead of Lee, beats him to the cone. Sub-Zero scores, making the score 10-7.
Sub-Zero working against the zone, 10-7.
NexGen putting in that junk set that they have, containing the disc on the handlers, but Josh Klain is able to break it in, and when it gets pushed upfield, speedy Grant Lindsley. Burns to the cone and gets his second goal. NexGen offense, Johnson, Allison Hall, Camp, Freechild, Janin, DiGirolamo, and Thorne. D-line for Sub-Zero. Reznikov, Jensen, Young, Hohenstein. An offsides call on the pull by James Kennedy. It's 2 offsides in a row. If the defense is offsides twice in a game, the offense gets to set up with the disc in the middle of the field, halfway down and halfway in the middle. Sub-Zero to pull again. Rolling pull. Touch by Eric Johnson. Freechild is going to have to take that at the back of the end zone. This is the second time that NexGen has had to take the disc from the back of the end zone. Once in Bravo. Camp to Thorne. They're now on the goal line. Pick called downfield. Disc stays at Camp. Didn't affect the throw. Camp being marked by Peterson. Peterson, one of 3 players who are playing for Sub-Zero for the first time this year. Otherwise, they have a roster full of a lot of returning experience. NexGen still on that goal line, haven't been able to get past their first 20 yards. Johnson around to Thorne. Camp. Johnson. Allison Hall has yards. Johnson goes to DiGirolamo on the sideline. Hammer all the way over across to Thorne. Thorne, uncontested goal. That is a Pittsburgh connection. NexGen offense scores, takes the full 90 yards. Ending the point with an impressive hammer from DiGirolamo to Thorne. An often seen connection out of that Pittsburgh squad. Sub-Zero O-line. Gill, Meeson, Captain O'Brien, Murray, Lindsley, Klain, and Evangelos. NexGen D-line. Mickle, Lamar, Lee, Kocher, Driscoll, Rader, and Haas. Mickle set to pull. Blady pull, fielded by Meeson. Centers to O'Brien.
Okay. Yeah, because I missed that other one.
Horizontal stack by Sub-Zero. Meeson on the sideline. Up to O'Brien. O'Brien has Lindsley with steps. This is going to float. Haas might catch up. Lindsley, easy goal. Maybe a miscommunication for the NexGen defense upfield. Grant Lindsley was wide open when Sam O'Brien got the disc. Lee and Haas in pursuit, but they're unable to make a play. NexGen up 11-8. O-line looking to score. Driscoll, Lamar, Camp, Kocher, Lance, Allison Hall, and Mickle. Sub-Zero on the D-line. Tom Herring, Drew Mahold. Lance in the middle of the field. Round break to Lamar. Lance. Scuba over to Driscoll. Crowd pleasing. Driscoll to Lamar. Inside to Lance. Lance with a flick break all the way over. Camden Allison Hall can't make a play. The disc doesn't come back in. Sub-Zero D looking to break. Beak tapping the disc in. Mahold has his dump. Can't get upfield. Can't get a dump off. Goes downfield. Nick Lance in front of Alex Evangelos. High stall count. Doesn't have very many options. And puts up a floaty pass to a cluster of NexGen defenders. NexGen back on offense. Driscoll, up line to Allison Hall. Pick called. Disc is gonna stay. Lance, big around to Kocher. Toes it in. Upfield to Driscoll, it floats. And a little too short, unable to put it in his chest. Two missed throws this point for the NexGen offense. Sub-Zero with their second chance to break. Beak walking the disc up. Mahold and Young in the back as his dumps. Sub-Zero in a horizontal stack. Mahold upfield, but Tommy Lamar. Nice poach defense. Centers to Kocher. 5 yards outside the end zone. Mickle. Lance. And a Scuba over the stack. Evangelos makes a bid on it, but it is on target to Driscoll. Will Driscoll.
This year's Callahan Award winner, Nick Lance. Great scuba for the score. NexGen up 12-8.
Nick Lance returning for his first game, already making a big impact on the field. A score set up by a poach D by Tommy Lamar, just sitting on the front of that stack. Then Nick Lance, world famous scuba. NexGen offense is able to hold. D-line looking to extend the lead. Matt Rader, DiGirolamo, Lee, Janin, Haas, Johnson, and Freechild. Sub offense. Murray, Gill, Lindsley, Neeson, O'Brien, Klein, and Kennedy. Neeson fielding it inside his own end zone. Upfield to Klein. Sam O'Brien, typically a handler, put upfield. NexGen playing a bit of a 1-3-3 zone. Upfield to Meeson, unguarded. Gill. Murray. Flick goes all the way around to Lindsley. And he's able to catch up with it before it goes out the back of the end zone. Goal for Sub-Zero. NexGen, sorry, not NexGen, Lindsley has been cleaning it up for the goals for Sub-Zero. Murray is just able to go all the way across the field. Open side, no defenders there. Lindsley runs it down easy. Sub-Zero still in this game, down 9-12. Sub D-line, Moskal, Peterson, Young, Hohenstein, Jensen, Neeson, and Reznikov. Neeson coming from the O-line to play defense. Of course, a familiar role for him. He plays defense for the University of Minnesota. Big player for them. NexGen O-line. Setting up in a side stack. Camp goes out first. Big fake. And Thorne, second out of the stack. Lance puts it all the way up. Thorne not able to get up over Young. For those speedy guys, you want to put the disc out in front of him. Nick Lance floats it a little bit too much. Neeson to pick up. Sub-Zero now on offense. Peterson catches the disc on a bidding Mickle. And Freechild in the lane, able to knock that one down. He's still open downfield. And Alex Thorne, a pretty inside-out backhand. Freechild a little intimidated by the goalpost, but he'll take a chest bump from friend Matt Rader. Freechild gets a D, speeds downfield. No one notices him slip back there. And he's wide open. Nice throw by Alex Thorne. Offense able to hold. NexGen D-line. Haas, Allison Hall, Jannon, Johnson, Lee, Driscoll, and Jimmy Mickle to pull. Sub-Zero on the offensive side, Evangelas, Lindsley, Gill, O'Brien, Murray, Klein, and Kennedy. Three Carleton alum out there with Lindsley, Evangelas, and O'Brien. Lindsley first to come out of the stack. Pick called in the crowd. O'Brien in the center of the field, marked by Haas. O'Brien, captain for Sub-Zero this year. He throws a flick huck to Lindsley, guarded by Jannon. That disc is going to float out of bounds. Lindsley can't make a play on it. Jannon cleans up, makes sure it doesn't come back in. NexGen down on offense. Lee, center of the field, puts a backhand to Driscoll. He's able to go up big over Kennedy. 5 yards outside his end zone. Scuber leading Jannon. Jannon fumbles the disc, but is able to keep it in his hands. Jannon with his bookends on the day. Getting the D on Lindsley. Driscoll doing all the work, though. Going up powerfully over James Kennedy. Jannon sneaks upfield for the goal, and that is a break for NexGen. They are up 14-9 on game point. Feeling good down here. NexGen D-line, Johnson, Thorne, Freechild, DiGirolamo, Lance, Kocher, and Camp. Sub-Zero O-line, very familiar. Kennedy, Klein, Murray, Gill, Lindsley, Neeson, and Evangelas. Johnson set to pull. That's going to float. Sub will start 10 yards inside their own end zone. Up to Klein. Breaks around to Murray. Murray sees Lindsley with steps, but that disc floats. Girolamo comes in and eats it up. Nice poach off the back of that stack from DiGirolamo. Johnson unleashing the Thorn. Thorn goes up between two defenders, almost able to get a hand on it. Camp with a bid on Evangelist, doesn't get it. Kennedy down the sideline. Gill, Kennedy. Side break to Klein. Meeson, Gill. Around to Kennedy.
Oh, Brian, you're so great. Awesome.
And Colin Camp stepping in to get that D. It looks like there's going to be a foul call that Camp stepped on the foot of Kennedy, causing Kennedy to fall before he could make a play on it. A discussion between the players. Looks like it's going to go to the observer. Camp with a second big bit of the game. This time he's able to get a hand on it. But the observer is ruling that it was a foul. Kennedy will keep possession of the disc, a few yards outside his end zone. Disc is tapped in. Lindsley makes a nice move past Freechild, toes the line, gets a full hand on that disc. Lindsley cleaning up the goal side. A few steps in front of the speedy Freechild. But Lindsley, known for his speed, big player. Very welcome back here for Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero now down 10-14 with NexGen on offense. A do-or-die situation for this defensive line. NexGen offense hoping to end the game. Driscoll, DiGirolamo, Mickle, Lee, Haas, Allison Hall, and Lamar. Sub-Zero's D-line. Evangelist. Mahold to pull. Beak. Young, O'Brien, Herring, and speeding down on the pull is Bro, Sean Bro. Mickle to Girolamo. Evangelist comes through. Bid by Evangelist, unable to get it. Fouls the mark, coming back upfield. Mickle, big fake. Around to Lee. Haas. Lee. Lamar. DiGirolamo wanting it in that backfield. Lamar holstering the huck. Lee to Driscoll. DiGirolamo. Allison Hall. Backhand flick. DiGirolamo trying to jump in. Called not in. Mickle. DiGirolamo finally being found in the end zone. After a few attempts to score, he gets open, and NexGen cleans up their first win, 15-10 over Sub-Zero.
NexGen win, 15-10.
A nice inside-out break by Tommy Lee to end the game. NexGen on the tour, 1-1 on the tour. On Tuesday, we will be in Madison, playing Madison Club. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Patagonia and Discraft, again, for making this broadcast and this tour possible. I'd like to thank the production crew, Kimber Cole and Vin Bowie, our cameraman, Brian Bedord, and Andrew Schock, and of course the man who made this all possible, Kevin Minderhout, doing great things for the tour. As for myself, I'm Topher Davis. We hope to see you in Madison on Tuesday. Thank you for tuning in.